Regression testing. Regression testing, we will be discussing this topic in today's session. So far we have studied system testing, unit testing, component testing. Now we shall discuss about regression testing. Regression testing is testing the system to check that changes have not broken previously working code. In a manual testing process, regression testing is expensive, but with automated testing, it is simple and straightforward. All tests are rerun every time a change is made to the program. Test must run successfully before the change is committed. So, what is regression testing? You know that when the system is in its development stage, it undergoes through several changes in its life cycle. So when you make changes to the software, you need to test that software once again. So when you are making the changes to the software, you need to test that software once again. Why? Because the changes may affect the previously working code. That is what regression testing. That kind of testing is regression testing. That is when the changes are made to the software, that software need to be tested once again. So, regression testing is a kind of testing the system to check that after making new changes to the software, the previously working code is not affected. That is, it is not broken. So, that is has been said in the first point. Regression testing is testing the system to check that changes have not broken previously working code. It means whatever the source code was there in the software before making the changes. So that code should not get affected when the changes have been made. So to test that whether it has been broken or not, whether the code has been affected or not, to test that testing technique is there. That kind of testing technique we call it as the regression testing. So each and every time when the changes are made to the program, this test need to be done. In manual testing process, regression testing is expensive, but with the automation testing process, regression testing is simple and it is straightforward. And it is said that each and every time when the changes are made to the program, these tests should run every time. That is, these tests should rerun every time. These tests should run successfully before the change is committed. So regression testing means it is a kind of testing the system to check that after making new changes to the software, the previously working code is not affected. That is, it is not broken. In the manual testing process, regression testing is expensive, but with the automated testing, it is simple and straightforward. And you should make sure that test must run successfully before the change is committed. Next, we shall move on to the release testing. Release testing is the process of testing a particular release of a system that is intended for use outside of the development team. The primary goal of the release testing process is to convince the supplier of the system that it is good enough for use. Release testing is usually a black box testing where tests are only derived from the system specification. So, release testing in the sense it is a process of testing a particular release of a system that is intended for use outside of the development team. The main aim of release testing is to convince the customer or the user that the software is good enough for practical use. Release testing, therefore, has to show that the system delivers its specified functionality, performance, and dependability. Release testing should ensure that the system does not fail during its normal use. That is why we perform the release testing. Release testing is usually a black box testing process. So, for your information, black box testing is a kind of testing technique. That is, it tests the features or the specifications of a software. Usually there are two kinds of testing. One is black box testing and the white box testing. Black box testing, it tests the features or the specifications of a system, the specifications of the software, whereas white box testing, it tests the code of the software. That is, white box testing tests the source code of the software. So for now, release testing is the process of testing where a particular release of a system that is intended for use outside of the development team. Why we need to perform the release testing? It is to convince the customer or user that the software is good enough for the practical use. So the functionality, performance and dependability, everything is working fine, that we need to ensure to the customer. And we should also ensure that the system does not fail during its normal use. So far, we have discussed regression testing and release testing. In later classes, we'll see the other forms of testing. Thank you.